Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, welcome back to lecture number 16 of macroeconomic course. पहले की तरह चंद मिनट के लिए we'll revise the previous lecture and then we'll come up for the today's lecture. So what we have learned in the previous class, we discussed the Keynesian class. Keynesian basically is a group of economists who criticized the classical economic theory in which prices are flexible in the long run. Keynesian economists, they believe on the short run, and they have given their own model which is the basic model of income determination. They take fiscal policy and investment as exogenous variable. Fiscal policy has a multiplied impact on income. So we have derived basically two sorts of multiplier. One was the government purchase multiplier, and the other is government the tax multiplier. By using Keynesian class, we said that whenever there is a change in fiscal policy variable, which are G, which is the government purchases, and taxes, which is the T, so there will be a change in income, the level of income in the economy. So when we have discussed the impact of change in government spending, government purchases on income, we have seen that the effect of government purchases is on income is the change in income is much bigger than the change in government purchases. Suppose if there is 1% change in government purchases, there will be 5% change in income, right? So we have derived that this is known as the multiplier effect. So that's why we call that government purchase the government purchase government expenditure multiplier, right? Then we have discussed the tax multiplier, the T, which is taxes are the major source of revenue. Whenever there is change in taxes, this will also bring a change in the level of income in the economy. Suppose taxes goes up, what will happen to the level of income? Income goes down. So the decrease in income is much more than the increase in taxes, right? So but this change in income due to change in taxes is less than the change in income due to change in government purchases. It means what we have learned that the change in income due to tax multiplier is less than due to change in the government multiplier, which is government purchase multiplier. So by using this Keynesian class, why we call it Keynesian class? That we have a expenditure curve that we have seen last time, then we have an income line which is straight line. So where these two curves cross each other, where expenditure, which is the planned expenditure, is equal to income, that determines the equilibrium in the economy, and that determines the equilibrium level of income in the country or in the economy. Now that equilibrium can be affected by using government purchases or taxes are the tools of fiscal policy. As we said that by using government purchasing we can come up with the purchase multiplier, and by using taxes we can derive the tax multiplier. By using this Keynesian class, we have derived last time the IS curve, which is the same investment saving curve. This shows the combinations of R and Y, where R is the interest rate and Y is the income. So it shows the combinations of R and Y that brings equilibrium in the goods market, right? So this brings equilibrium in the goods market. So we derived that curve with the help of Keynesian class, where investment depends negatively on the rate of interest. If rate of interest goes up, investment goes down. When investment goes down, the level of income in the country will also go down. It shows, as I told you, that IS curve shows the combination of and y that equates planned expenditure with actual expenditure on goods and services and determine equilibrium in the goods market. So this is all about what we have learned in the previous class. So we have learned two things in previous lecture. One was the Keynesian cross, how Keynes, according to Keynes or the group of Keynesian economists, how we determine national income or determine in level of income in the country and the economy by using planned expenditure and income line. And then using that Keynesian cross, we have seen that we have determined the IS curve, which is the investment saving curve. It shows the combination of R and Y, combination of rate of interest and income, which brings equilibrium in the goods market. So this was all about previous lecture. Now what we are going to learn, we will continue aggregate demand 1B. So we have divided the previous lecture into two parts. We have discussed first part in the previous class where we have derived IS curve. Today we will continue with the same topic of aggregate demand and try to develop another curve which is known as the LM curve. Now we'll discuss here the theory of liquidity preference, and then by using theory of liquidity preferences we will like to develop the LM curve, that is the curve which shows the combination of R and Y that brings equilibrium in the money market by using the liquidity preference theory. And then after that इस lecture में हम क्या करेंगे, we'll try to combine these two curves, IS and LM curve, in one diagram and see how we can determine equilibrium in both of the markets in the same diagram that help us to explain the equilibrium in the goods market as well as equilibrium in the money market. This is the plan of the lecture today. So we start from the liquidity preference theory, and due to John Maynard Keynes, he said that it is a simple theory in which the interest rate is determined by money supply and money demand. So liquidity preference theory is a theory, according to Keynes, it determines the rate of interest by using money supply on one side and money demand on other side. Now since we said that interest rate is determined under the liquidity preference theory by using money supply and money demand, now we'll see the shape of the two curves. What is the shape of money supply curve, what is the shape of money demand curve, and then we'll bring equilibrium in the money market. If you look in this diagram, on y-axis we are measuring rate of interest, on x-axis we are measuring the real money balances. As we know that the supply of real money balances is fixed in the short run, that money supply cannot change in the short run. So M over P S, which is the money supply in the economy, it is equal to M bar over P bar, जैसा कि आपको सामने नजर आ रहा है. It means the money supply is given, money supply is constant, right? So when money supply is given and it is constant, then we have a vertical money supply curve, जैसा कि आपको slide में नजर आ रहा है. So we have a straight line curve. Whatever is the interest rate in the economy, money supply will remain same. So that's why we have the vertical money supply curve in the money market. Now similarly we need to draw the other part, the other side of the money market, which is the money demand curve. Similarly, as we measured interest rate on y-axis, again here we are measuring interest rate on y-axis, demand for real balances on x-axis. We have the demand for real balances on y-axis. Now as we know that the demand M over P is the demand for real balances, it depends on the rate of interest. Now when rate of interest goes up, जब rate of interest में इजाफा हो जाता है, तो what will happen? The people would prefer to deposit their money with the banks instead of holding money with them. So the demand for money goes down. And if rate of interest goes down, people would prefer to hold money or hold demand or keep money with themselves. So the demand for money goes up. So there is an inverse relationship between the demand for money and the supply of, inverse relationship between the demand for money and the rate of interest. So that's why we have a negatively sloped demand for money curve, which is which can be shown in the diagram on the slide. If you look in the slide, so LR is the negatively sloped demand curve for money, in which tells us that there is inverse relationship between the demand for real balances and the rate of interest. Now, where is the equilibrium in the money market? Because we have now discussed the two sides of the money market. One, the supply of money. The other side is the demand for money. So when we combine these two sides, the supply and demand will bring the equilibrium in the money market. इस तरह से हम money market में equilibrium या तवाज़ुन को explain कर सकते हैं. If you look in this slide, जो कि आपको सामने नजर आ रही है, we are measuring interest rate on y-axis, demand for supply of demand and supply of real money balances on x-axis. We have a money supply curve which is given, which is vertical. We have a negatively sloped money demand curve, as we have discussed in the previous slide. Both of these two curves are intersecting at each other at some point. So if we give some name to this point, suppose this is the point A. Now a money supply is intersecting demand for money at point A, where the rate of interest is R1. Our money supply and money demand is M bar over P bar, or M, you can say M1 over P1, right? So this is the equilibrium in the money market. Now why we call this equilibrium? Why the money market is at equilibrium at point A? Now suppose if we have any point on below than this R1, suppose somewhere here. Now what is happening here? If you look at this point, if this is suppose here it is R2. Now at R2, what is happening at R2? The demand for money is more than the supply of money. When demand is more than the supply, what will happen? The rate of interest will start going up. If rate of interest ज़्यादा होगा तो demand for money क्या होगी? Demand for money will start coming back, coming down, and supply of money will go up. So slowly and gradually the market will move towards equilibrium point, which is point A. Similarly, if we have a point which is above than this R1, suppose it is R3. Now what is happening at R3? The supply of money is more than the demand for money. Now demand for money is less, supply for money is more, rate of interest starts coming down. When the rate of interest starts coming down, the people will try to demand more money instead of depositing their money with the banks, and the market will move towards the equilibrium point, which is A, where demand for money is equal to the supply of money. So we can say that, we can conclude that the money market is in equilibrium at the point where demand for money is equal to the supply of money, and that is the point A. And at that point the rate of interest is R1 and money supply and money demand is on x-axis. Now suppose how if the Fed or the central bank of a country raises the interest rate, what will happen? How this change in the interest rate, or how the policy of the federal bank, how the policy of the central bank affect the equilibrium in the money market. Now to increase, or what Fed has to do, what central bank has to do, they have to reduce money supply in the country or in the economy. अगर central bank ने rate of interest को बढ़ाना है, तो what will they do? That they will reduce money supply in the country. If Fed or the central bank wants to increase the rate of interest, it has to reduce money supply in the country. So when central bank reduce money supply in the country, money supply curve will shift inward. Money supply में कमी वाक़ई हो जाएगी, right? From M1 bar over P to M2 bar over P, जो कि आपको सामने red line में नजर आ रहा है. This is a new money supply curve, and this is why, because the Fed or the central bank want to raise interest rate. In order to raise the interest rate, they have to reduce money supply in the economy. Now this new money supply curve is intersecting the demand for money curve at a point which you can call this point, we can say that they are intersecting at point B. Now at point B, what will happen to the rate of interest? What is happening in the money market? By reducing money supply in the country, in the economy, what will happen? Rate of interest will go up, money supply, demand for money, and the supply of money will go down, right? So this is how the federal bank or the central bank of a country can affect the equilibrium in the money market, or can increase or decrease the rate of interest by using monetary policy, by using money supply in the country or in the economy. Now we'll discuss a case study, and that is Volcker's monetary tightening. Volcker basically is the policy maker who introduced a tight monetary policy in the country and the economy. Now in late 1970s, the inflation rate in US was greater than 10%. October 79, what the central bank chairman decided, Chairman Paul Volcker is the chairman of the Central Bank of America, and he announced a tight monetary policy. What we mean by tight monetary policy? They want to reduce money supply in the country because inflation rate is greater than 10%. Government or the Central Bank of America, they want to reduce inflation in the country and the economy. And as we know that through quantitative theory of money हमने सीखा था कि जो money supply है और जो inflation है इनका आपस में direct relationship है, right? So if the Fed want to control the money inflation in the country and the economy, they have to reduce money supply, right? Now they basically Fed chairman Paul Volcker announced that monetary policy would aim to reduce inflation in the country. Now August 1979 April to April 1980, Fed reduces inflation from 10% to, Fed reduces money supply by 8%. In Jan 1983, inflation was reduced from 10 to 3.7%, with the reduction of money supply 8%, right? Now, how do you think, what will you think this policy change would affect the interest rate? जैसा कि अब केस स्टडी क्या है? In 1970s, the inflation in US was more than 10%. Now the chairman Federal Bank or the Central Bank of America would like to reduce this interest rate, this inflation rate, and how they can do that? By reducing the money supply. In 1979, they reduced the money supply by 8%. Now with this reduction of money supply, inflation comes down to 3.7% from 10%, right? Now how we think, what we think this policy would affect the rate of interest in the country and the economy. The effects of monetary tightening on nominal interest rate. Now as we know that there are two time periods, short run and long run. When we talk about short run, we talked about liquidity preference theory, which is given by Keynesians. When we talk about the long run, we talk about QT, quantitative theory, or the Fisher effect, which is the classical economist. Now on the first column we have a model. Now prices are sticky in the short run and are flexible in the long run. Prediction क्या है? Change in investment is positive in the short run when prices are sticky in case of Keynesian, but in the long run, when prices are flexible, change in investment is less than, this is not investment, sorry, this is the nominal interest rate. So in case we are talking about Keynesian economist, and prediction ये है कि वहाँ पे nominal interest rate में इजाफा हो जाएगा. And if we talk about classical economist, this policy which Volcker has adopted, this effect negatively to the nominal interest rate. Now actual outcome क्या होगी? What would be the actual outcome? Now if we talk about in 1979, the nominal interest rate was 10.4%, but after adoption of that monetary policy and the tight monetary policy by the chairman of Federal Bank, this increased the nominal interest rate under Keynesian economics, and it is from 10.4% to 15.8%. And if we talk about classical economists, if we talk about classical economics, the nominal interest will go down, and it has gone down from 10.4% to 8.2%. So we have discussed the case study in which the chairman Federal Bank of America want to reduce inflation in the country and the economy, and how he can do that by reducing money supply in the economy. If they when they reduce money supply in the economy in 1979 and 80, inflation come down to 3.7%. But the question arises, how this policy would affect the interest rate in the economy. तो वो इस slide में हमने देखा कि if we are talking about Keynesian economics, there will be a positive effect on nominal interest rate, and if we talk about classical economists, which talk about the long run equilibrium and the long run time period, this effect negative. This has a negative effect on the nominal interest rate. Now LM curve. Now by using now let us put y back into the money demand function. Previously जैसे कि आपने ग्राफ ड्रा किया money demand का, वहाँ पे money demand was depending on interest rate only, but as we know that जैसे शुरू में हमने एक चैप्टर money and inflation में हमने डिस्कस किया था कि demand for money does not depend only on the rate of interest, it also depends on the level of income, right? So we can rewrite the demand for money function as M over P D is equal to L R Y. R and Y are the two determinants of demand for money. Now LM curve basically is a graph of all combination of R and Y that equates the supply and demand for real balances and brings equilibrium in the money market. Now in case of LM, R and Y give us, it is the combination of all those points that equates the supply and demand for money, which brings equilibrium in the money market, right? So if we bring two sides of the money market together, on one side we have demand for real balances, on the other side we have supply of real balances. Now left hand side of the equation, M bar over P bar, is the supply of real balances, which is fixed, which is given in Keynesian economics, and which is equal to L into RY is the demand for money. So when we equate the demand for real balances and the supply of real balances in one equation, and where these two curves intersect each other, that determines the equilibrium in the money market, and this gives us the LM curve. Now how we can drive LM curve by using this equilibrium in the money market, and we have two graphs on this slide. Graph A, which is the market for real balances, real money balances, and B is the LM curve. We are measuring R, rate of interest, on y-axis in both of the diagrams, and income on x-axis. As I told you that money supply is fixed, so we have vertical money supply curve, and we have negatively sloped money demand curve. Now these two curves intersect each other at a point A. Now corresponding to this point A, we have a point A in diagram B, which is the combination of R1 and Y1. Now suppose the demand for money goes up with the increase in income level. If income goes up from Y1 to Y2, so income का और demand for real money balances का पॉजिटिव रिलेशनशिप है. अगर इनकम में इजाफा होगा तो डिमांड फॉर रियल बैलेंसेस भी बढ़ जाएगी. सो द डिमांड फॉर मनी कर्व और द डिमांड फॉर रियल बैलेंसेस कर्व विल शिफ्ट राइटवर्ड, राइट. सो व्हाट विल हैपन, द मनी मार्केट रीच एट ए न्यू इक्विलिब्रियम एट पॉइंट बी वेयर demand for money is intersecting the supply of money curve. Now corresponding to this point we have another point where by the increase in R डिमांड फॉर मनी में इजाफा हो गया और रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट के बढ़ने से व्हाट विल हैपन टू द इनकम हियर. वी हैव ए पॉइंट बी इन दिस डायग्राम. नाउ इफ वी कंबाइन दीज टू पॉइंट्स in the money market, we will get the LM curve. So this is how we can derive the LM curve by using the equilibrium in the money market. Now understanding the LM curve slope. The LM curve is positively sloped. Now what is the intuition, what is the logic behind this? An increase in income raises money demand, right? शुरू में आप नोट करें कि जब मनी इनकम में बढ़ेगी तो मनी डिमांड बढ़ेगी. Since the supply of real money balances is fixed, there is no excess demand in money market at the initial interest rate. So what will happen? The interest rate must rise to restore equilibrium in the money market. Interest rate में इजाफा होना शुरू हो जाएगा to restore the equilibrium in the money market because money supply is in excess at the initial rate of interest. जब money supply excess है, then the money demand excess है, then the money supply. So what will happen? The rate of interest start going up in order to restore or bring equilibrium back in the money market, right? So this is the logic, and that's why we say that this is the reason that we have positively sloped demand for the LM curve. Now how change in money supply shift the LM curve? How we can shift the LM curve? Again we have two diagrams. In diagram A is the market for real money balances and B is the LM curve diagram. We have demand for money curve, we have supply of money curve, and they are intersecting. We have R1 rate of interest and corresponding to this rate of interest R1 and Y1. In this diagram B we have LM1 curve. Now suppose there is a change in money supply. If money supply goes down from M1 to M2 bar, what will happen? जब मनी सप्लाई में कमी वाक़ई होगी तो रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में क्या होगा? इजाफा होगा. जब रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में इजाफा होगा तो LM कर्व जो है लेफ्टवर्ड शिफ्ट हो जाएगा, राइट, फ्रॉम LM1 टू LM2 because with the change in rate of interest from R1 to R2 we have a new LM curve which is inside, higher rate of interest but at the same level of income in the money market. Now I am going to give you an exercise which you are going to do at home. Now suppose a wave of credit fraud causes consumer to use cash more frequently in transactions, right? अभी जो हमने बात की थी पिछले डायग्राम में मैंने देखा कि मैंने आपको बताया कि how the change in money supply shift the LM curve. तो अगर मनी सप्लाई में कमी वाक़ई हुई तो LM कर्व लेफ्टवर्ड शिफ्ट होगा. अगर मनी सप्लाई में इजाफा होगा तो LM कर्व राइटवर्ड शिफ्ट होगा. Now the question is that the other variable in this diagram is the money demand. Now whenever there is change in the money demand, so this of course will shift the LM curve leftward and rightward. So that is the exercise for you. This is the homework for you. That suppose a wave of a credit card fraud causes consumer to use cash more frequently in transaction. Now use the liquidity preference model to show how these events shift the LM curve. This is what you are going to do at home. Okay, अगर वेव ऑफ क्रेडिट फ्रॉड चलती है और कंज्यूमर को फोर्स करती है टू यूज कैश more frequently in transactions, means the demand for money बढ़ गई. So what will happen to the LM curve? This is what you are going to draw at home. Now there will be the short-run equilibrium, and now we bring both these two curves. Now we have drawn the LM curve with the help of liquidity preference theory, which is the positive slope curve, that there is a positive relationship between interest rate and income, and we have a negatively sloped IS curve जो कि हमने पिछले लेक्चर में हमने ड्राइव किया था, and that curve IS curve brings equilibrium in the goods market, LM curve brings equilibrium in the money market. Now where will be the short-run equilibrium in the economy, in the country, in the market? The short-run equilibrium is the combination of R and Y that simultaneously satisfy the equilibrium condition in the goods market as well as in the money market. So short-run equilibrium वहाँ पे होगा जहाँ पे हम इन दोनों curves को combine करेंगे, और this give us a rate of interest which basically satisfy and the level of income which satisfies the equilibrium in both of the market. दोनों markets में ये तवाज़ुन करेगा, and that is, though what are those markets? It is the goods market and the money market. So when there is a simultaneously equilibrium in the goods market and the money market, that gave us that is the point where there is a equilibrium, short-run equilibrium in the economy. Now as we know that we have in the previous lecture में हमने equation IS curve की equation लिखी थी, y is equal to c y bar minus t, y minus t bar I r g bar. So left side is the level of income, right side is the planned expenditure. So at equilibrium, whenever the goods market is in equilibrium, E is equal to Y, and when the money market meet is M bar over P bar is equal to L R Y. M over P bar is the supply of money, L into R Y is the demand for money, right? So this equation number 1 tells us about the equilibrium in the goods market. Second equation tells us about the equilibrium in the money market. Now with the help of first equation we have derived IS curve, which is आपको जो आपको सामने नजर आ रहा है, and with the help of second equation we have derived the LM curve. Now both of these two curves are intersecting each other at a point. Suppose we give some name to this point. Point A. Now at point A, LM curve is intersecting IS curve, and this determines equilibrium in the market, in the economy, and we have equilibrium interest rate and equilibrium level of income in the country or in the economy. Now if you look at the big picture, so what we have learned so far, we have learned in the previous lecture about the Keynesian cross, and in today's class we are learning the theory of liquidity preference. Now by using Keynesian cross we have derived IS curve. Now by using theory of liquidity preference we have derived LM curve, right? Now we have combined these two curve, IS and LM curve, in one model and try to derive the aggregate demand curve, right? Aggregate demand and then aggregate supply curves comes together, right? Because aggregate demand and aggregate supply are the two sides of same coin, and then when we combine these two, this would become the model of aggregate demand and aggregate supply, and this tells us the explanation or the reasons of economic fluctuations in the short run. So by using the aggregate demand and aggregate supply curves both in the short and long run tells us the explanation of short run fluctuation in the country or in the economy. So this is just the big or the broader pictures of Keynesian cross and and liquidity preference theory, and by using, as I told you, that by using Keynesian cross we have derived IS curve, which is the investment saving curve, and LM curve is the liquidity money curve, which is the liquidity preference theory से हमने ड्रा किया, दोनों को combine किया in एक ही model में, and then we get the aggregate demand and aggregate supply curve. Combining these two, we'll get the model of aggregate demand and aggregate supply curve, and that is the model which basically tells or explain the logic of short-run fluctuation in the country and the economy. Now, IS curve represents the equilibrium in the goods market, जैसा कि पहले हम देख चुके हैं, and the equation of IS curve is y is equal to CY minus T, that consumption is one of the component of expenditure and which depends on the disposable income. IR is the level of investment in the country and the economy, which is the second component of this expenditure, and G government purchases, which is given. So this tells us, that gives us the IS curve. The LM curve represents the equilibrium in the money market, and money market is in equilibrium where the supply of real money balances, which is M bar over P bar, is equal to L or Y is the demand for money. Now the intersection of both these two curves determines the unique equilibrium, a unique combination of R and Y that is satisfy the equilibrium condition in both of the market. जब दोनों equations को, दोनों curves को हम एक ही diagram में combine करेंगे, जो कि आपको सामने नजर आ रहा है, तो this give us a unique combination of rate of interest and income that basically satisfies equilibrium in both of the market, which is goods market and money market. Now policy analysis with, now how we can analyze how the policymaker can use this IS and LM model to analyze their policies. We have two equations, as we know that. One is the equilibrium of goods market, Y is equal to E. E is the planned expenditure, right side of the equation first, and then we have the demand for money and demand for real money, supply of money, real balances, which is the money market equation. Now, and we have a diagram, जो आपको diagram नजर आ रहा है, is the ISM LM model. We have IS curve, which is negatively sloped. We have LM curve, which is negatively positively sloped. Both of these two curves intersect at a point which determines a unique combination of R and Y that satisfy equilibrium in both of the market. Now, policymakers can affect macroeconomic variables with fiscal policy. And what are the tools of fiscal policy? The tools of fiscal policy are government purchases and taxes. And the second tool of policymaker is the monetary policy, and the instrument tool of monetary policy is money supply. Now there are two policies, there are two instruments which the policymaker can use to affect the macroeconomic variable by using either fiscal policy tools or by using monetary policy tools. The tools of fiscal policy are government purchases and taxes, and the tool of monetary policy is money supply. Now government or the policymaker can use these of the variables, these policies, these monetary and fiscal policy to affect the macroeconomic variables in the country or in the economy. Now we can use the ISLM model to analyze the effects of these policies, how these policies affect the economy or the macroeconomic variable in the country and the economy by using ISLM model. तो अब हम अगली स्लाइड्स में ये देखेंगे कि जब पॉलिसी मेकर यूज करते हैं मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी को या फिस्कल पॉलिसी को to affect the macroeconomic variable, so we would like to see those effects by using ISLM and LM model. Now suppose first the government use fiscal policy to see how this policy affect macroeconomic variables in the country by using this IS and LM model, right? If you look in the slide, we have a graph, y-axis we are taking interest rate, on x-axis we are measuring income level, we have IS and LM curve, and initially the economy or the both of the markets are in equilibrium. At a point we can give some name to this point. Let us see, we give some, this is point A. Now both of these two curves are intersecting at point A, where the rate of interest is R1 and income is Y1. Now suppose government or the policy makers adopts fiscal policy to affect these macroeconomic variable, and one of the tool of fiscal policy is government purchases, right? Now if government purchases increases, if there is increase in government purchases, what will happen? Income में इजाफा होगा by 1/1 minus MPC into delta G. Amount, this income इतनी amount से बढ़ जाएगी. This is a multiplier, government purchase multiplier, जो कि हमने पिछली क्लास में हमने डिस्कस किया था कि अगर गवर्नमेंट परचेजेस में 1% इजाफा होता है तो इनकम में उससे 5 गुना ज़्यादा इजाफा होता है. तो इनकम मल्टीप्लाइज then the change in government purchases. So this will bring a shift in IS curve to the right side. Now the economy comes to, now if we keep the same interest rate, at the same rate of interest, this raises money demand and causing the interest rate to rise. What will happen? R will go up or income will go down, and now the economy is at equilibrium at point, let us say point B. Now the increase in income from Y1 to Y2 is smaller than the change in income by 1/1 or 1 minus MPC delta G. यानी कि इनिशियल जो इफेक्ट हुआ था गवर्नमेंट परचेजेस का, गवर्नमेंट परचेज के बढ़ने से हमने ये देखा कि आउटपुट में इजाफा हुआ, और एट द इनिशियल रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग एट R1, इनकम हैज इंक्रीज फ्रॉम Y1 टू Y3. सपोज हम इसको Y3 क्या देते हैं, इफ वी say this at the initial rate of interest, this is the level of income. Now with the change in government purchases, income has increased from Y1 to, suppose we can give it to Y3, but this raises in money demand, this raises money demand and causing interest rate to rise to R1, from R1 to R2, and the money and the economy comes back to equilibrium where both new IS curve is intersecting the existing LM curve at point B. At this point the level of interest is R2, income is Y2, so which reduces investment. So the final increase in Y is smaller than the initial increase in Y due to change in government purchases. So this is the objective कि government purchases से जो initial income में change आई वो कहीं ज़्यादा थी than the final change when we have combined these two IS and LM together, and the new IS curve is intersecting at point B to the existing LM curve. So that increase in income is smaller than the increase in income by 1/1 minus MPC into delta. Now we'll see the second tool of fiscal policy is taxes. A tax cut. As a government cut the taxes, what will happen? This will shift the IS curve to the right side. उसी तरह से income में at the same level of rate of interest, income में जो इजाफा हो गया, that is from Y1 to Y3, right? Now the initial boost in spending is smaller than delta T. यानी ये जो तब्दीली आई टैक्सेस कमी की वजह से, ये उसमें जो इनकम में इजाफा हुआ वो जो डेल्टा जी की वजह से उससे कहीं कम होगा, ये हम पहले भी बता चुके हैं. और आई इसका राइटवर्ड शिफ्ट हो जाएगा with the amount minus MPC over 1 minus MPC into delta T. This is the tax, basically this is the tax multiplier. तो इस अमाउंट के बराबर आई इसमें शिफ्ट आ जाएगी. एट इनिशियल रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट इनकम लेवल इज Y1, but this affects the demand for money also, and rate of interest will go up and income goes up from y1 to y2 instead of y3. Again, this change in income, the final change in income, is smaller than the change in initial income due to tax cut. So what we can say that, what we can conclude that initially whenever the policy maker uses government purchases or taxes to affect the equilibrium in the goods and money market, at the initial rate of interest जो income में कहीं ज़्यादा इजाफा हो जाता है, and that increase is equal to the multiplier effect by both government purchases as well as taxes. But finally जब इतना ज़्यादा इजाफा होता है तो this raises demand for money. जब demand for money बढ़ती है तो rate of interest में इजाफा हो जाता है. जब rate of interest में इजाफा होता है तो income में कमी वाक़ई होती है. But still there is an increase in income at a new equilibrium point, but that increase is less than the increase in income due to change in government purchases or taxes. और taxes की वजह से जो income में इजाफा वो ज़्यादा था, लेकिन जो final increase in income में इजाफा हुआ है from the initial level of income वो उससे थोड़ा सा कम है. Now, second instrument with the policy maker is the monetary policy. Government or the policy maker can use the monetary policy as a tool of monetary policy, which is money supply, to shift the IS or shift the LM curve and see what happens to the equilibrium in the goods and money market. Now, if the government adopt a policy or the policy maker adopt a policy where they would like to increase the money supply, this will shift the LM curve to the right side, right? जो कि आपको सामने नजर आ रहा है. इनिशियल इक्विलिब्रियम कहाँ पे है आपका, जहाँ पे IS और LM1 आपस में इंटरसेक्ट करें, and this is suppose is a point A. At this point we have R1 rate of interest and Y1 level of income. Now suppose मनी सप्लाई में इजाफा हुआ, मनी सप्लाई के इजाफे से LM कर्व राइटवर्ड शिफ्ट हो गया फ्रॉम LM1 टू LM2, जो कि आपको रेड लाइन के साथ नजर आ रहा है. दिस न्यू LM कर्व is intersecting the existing IS curve at point B, and new rate of interest is R2 and income is Y2. So causing the interest rate to rise, and which increase investment, causing income and output to rise in the country and the economy. Now we'll try to bring, अभी जो हमने डिस्कस किया, हमने सेपरेटली देखा कि किस तरह से मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी और फिस्कल पॉलिसी कैन इफेक्ट the macroeconomic variable which are the rate of interest and the level of income. सेपरेटली हमने देखा किस तरह से फिस्कल पॉलिसी का इफेक्ट होता है इन पे, किस तरह से मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी का इफेक्ट होता है. नाउ इफ वी कंबाइन दीज टू पॉलिसीज, if we bring these two policies in the same diagram at the same time, now after discussing these two policies separately, we would like to bring now these two policies together. Now we'll see the interaction between monetary and fiscal policy. Model क्या है? Monetary and fiscal policy variables are M, G and T are exogenous, but in the real world monetary policy makers may adjust M in response to change in fiscal policy or vice versa. Normally मॉडल में हम assume कर रहे हैं कि M, G and T given है, constant है, but practically real world दुनिया में हकीकत में क्या होता है कि whenever monetary policy makers can change M in response to any change in fiscal policy variable and vice versa. और फिजिकल पॉलिसी में पहले चेंज आती है तो मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी वाले चेंज कर लेते हैं. अगर मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी में पहले तब्दीली आती है तो दैट वुड बी इन रिस्पॉन्स टू फिजिकल पॉलिसी. सच इंटरैक्शन मे अल्टर द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द ओरिजिनल पॉलिसी चेंज. तो ये जो इंटरैक्शन है कैन चेंज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द ओरिजिनल पॉलिसी चेंज. तो जब सपोज पहले मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी में चेंज आई और उसके बाद इन रिस्पॉन्स टू चेंज मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी फिजिकल पॉलिसी मेकर अपनी पॉलिसी को चेंज करते हैं, तो वो इनिशियल इम्पैक्ट को वो चेंज कर सकती है जो कि मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी की वजह से आया था, राइट. सो ये इंटरेक्शन जो है इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिटवीन द टू पॉलिसीज. व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ चेंज इन macroeconomic variable due to one of the policy, the other policy can also be active and bring a change in these macroeconomic variable. उसको हम अभी एनालाइज करते हैं अभी देखते हैं कि किस तरह से ये इंट्रैक्शन जो है मॉनेटरी और फिस्कल पॉलिसी में आपस में इकोनॉमी में काम करती है. सो after discussing these two policies together separately, now we bring these two together and see how that interaction work. Now if the Federal Bank of America or the Federal Central Bank responds to change in government expenditure, okay, if there is a change in, first there is a change in fiscal policy, okay, government expenditure में इजाफा हो गया. Now if the Federal Bank want to respond that policy, अब फेडरल बैंक किस चीज का रिस्पॉन्सिबल होता है? सेंट्रल बैंक रिस्पॉन्सिबल है मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी का, राइट? अब ड्यू टू चेंज इन गवर्नमेंट स्पेंडिंग फेड उसको रिस्पॉन्स करता है. सपोज कांग्रेस इंक्रीज जी, अब द गवर्नमेंट इंक्रीज जी, पॉसिबल फेड रिस्पॉन्स क्या हो सकता है? आइदर दे शुड होल्ड एम कांस्टेंट, दे शुड होल्ड आर कांस्टेंट, आर शुड होल्ड वाई कांस्टेंट. इन ईच केस द इफेक्ट ऑफ डेल्टा जी आर डिफरेंट. तो इस स्लाइड में हम क्या देख रहे हैं? हम ये देख रहे हैं, इंट्रैक्शन देखना चाह रहे हैं दोनों पॉलिसीज की कि हाउ दीज टू पॉलिसी इंटरेक्ट विद ईच अदर इन द इकोनॉमी. अगर हम ये सपोज करें कि अगर गवर्नमेंट ने अपने अखराजात बढ़ा दिए एंड फेड का रिस्पॉन्स क्या होगा, सेंट्रल बैंक का रिस्पॉन्स क्या हो सकता है? थ्री पॉसिबिलिटीज हो सकती हैं. आइदर दे शुड होल्ड एम कांस्टेंट विच इज मनी सप्लाई, आर दे होल्ड आर कांस्टेंट, आर they hold y constant. In each case, तीनों केसेस को सेपरेटली हम देखेंगे और in each case the effect of change in government spending will be different. Suppose response 1 जो Fed का हो सकता है that they hold money supply constant. Now when the Congress or the government increase expenditures, IS curve will shift rightward. So we have initial IS1 curve, LM1 curve. Both of these two curves intersect each other at a point. Let us say that we call this point so we have equilibrium in the market R1 and Y1. Now suppose if the Fed if the government increased expenditure, IS curve rightward shift हो गया and we are at new equilibrium R2 and Y2. Now if M hold constant, then LM curve does not shift. So what will be the result? Delta Y is equal to Y2 minus Y1 and delta R would be equal to R2 minus 1. Now if money supply remains constant, monetary policy does not respond to change in government spending, what will happen? There will be change in both of the economic macroeconomic variable, and that is delta y will be changed, y will be changed, and that change is equal to y2 minus 1, and rate of interest will be changed, and that change is equal to r2 minus r1. Second response क्या हो सकता है फेडरल बैंक का, सेंट्रल बैंक का, कि if they hold r constant. Now suppose उसी से स्टार्ट करते हैं. इनिशियल इक्विलिब्रियम हमारा क्या है? IS1 and LM1 and we have the equilibrium R1 and Y1. Now suppose Congress or the government of a country or an economy changes its expenditure, increases its expenditure. Now what will happen to the IS curve? IS curve will shift rightward from IS1 to IS2. Now this intersect the original LM curve, which is LM1, at a point where we have R2 rate of interest and Y2 rate of Y2 level of income. Now but जैसा कि हमने कहा कि अब रिस्पॉन्स क्या होगा कि दे विल होल्ड R कांस्टेंट. R को अगर आपने कांस्टेंट रखना है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? फेड क्या करेगी? दे विल इंक्रीज मनी सप्लाई. मनी सप्लाई बढ़ाएंगे तो LM कर्व राइटवर्ड शिफ्ट हो जाएगा फ्रॉम LM1 to LM2. Now if you look at this R1, which is red color, it is same, but the income has increased from Y1 to Y3. Now what are its effect when Federal Bank or the central bank hold rate of interest as constant? Then it has only effect on the level of income, and income has gone up from Y1 to Y3, and the change in income delta Y is equal to Y3 minus Y1. Response 3. What is the response 3? If the government want to hold Y constant, initially we have LM1 and IS1, and the equilibrium rate of interest is R1 and equilibrium level of income is Y1. Now suppose जैसे कि हम कह रहे हैं कि गवर्नमेंट परचेज बढ़ती हैं, इजाफा होता है, तो IS कर्व शिफ्ट कर जाता है फ्रॉम IS1 to IS2, and equilibrium is rate of interest is R2 and the level of income is Y2. But now the question is, government want, or the policymaker want to hold level of income constant. What they do that? Then they have to reduce money supply in the country. Then when they reduce money supply, the LM curve shift leftward from LM1 to L2. Now this new LM curve is intersecting the new IS curve at a new point where we have R3 rate of interest and Y1 level of income, which is the same level of income. Now if the government or the policymaker or the monetary policy or the Fed response is that they want to hold Y constant, then there will be change in the rate of interest in the country, and rate of interest will go up from R1 to R3. So delta Y is 0 and the delta R is equal to R3 minus R1. So there are three possibilities. जब आप interaction करते हैं दोनों policies की together एक ही डायग्राम में, एक ही सेटिंग में, तो क्या होता है, डिफरेंट पॉसिबिलिटीज हो सकती हैं. अगर एक पॉलिसी में कोई तब्दीली आती है, एक पॉलिसी मेकर जो है किसी एक पॉलिसी का टूल तब्दील करते हैं, तो दूसरी पॉलिसी के रिस्पॉन्सेज डिफरेंट हो सकते हैं, और हर रिस्पॉन्स में जो इफेक्ट है मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक वेरिएबल्स का पे वो डिफरेंट हो सकता है. जैसा कि हमने यहाँ देखा कि whenever if there is a change in government purchases, the response of the Fed or the monetary policy could be different. Either they will hold M constant, they will hold R constant, they can hold Y constant. In each case, the effect on rate of interest and the level of income in the economy is different, and that's what we have seen in all of these three diagrams. Now just to give you an example, and this is the basically DRI macroeconomic model. This was estimated by policymakers, and we have the result in front of us. Assumption about monetary policy: Fed hold money supply constant. When Fed hold nominal interest rate constant, we have estimated values of delta Y of delta G. We have estimated value of delta Y over delta T. So we have estimated value of the effect of government purchases on income and the estimated value of effect of tax cut on income, right? First we see that if we look at the estimated value of delta Y of delta G, we have 0.60 if federal hold money supply constant. If federal hold rate of interest constant, then we have estimated value as 1.93. What this means? Now if there is 100 billion increase in money supply with you change in this expenditure, so there will be 600 billion change in expenditures. And then if you look at the second figure, 1.93, again this is an estimated value. This tells us when rate of interest is constant, the effect on the level of income is much more than the change in money supply. If you look at the estimated value of delta Y over delta T, you see minus 0.26 and minus 1.19. And the effect of tax cut when hold money supply constant is comparatively smaller than the effect when we hold the rate of interest constant, right? So when we combine these two policies together, when these policies interact with each other, and each policy maker responds to the other policy changes, so then the effect would be different in each case. Now this was all about today's class. Now what we have learned today, I just summarize in a few minutes. We started from the liquidity preference theory. Now what is that theory? It is the simple theory of interest rate that determines the equilibrium in, tells us the equilibrium in the money market, and the equilibrium in money market is where the demand for money and the demand for supply of money is equal. Now it is the basic model of interest rate determination. Here we take money supply and price level as exogenous, and increase in the money supply lowers the interest rate, and then of course increase the investment and level of income in the country and the economy. With the help of this liquidity preference theory, we have determined the LM curve, which is positively sloped, that whenever there is a change in the rate of interest, it affects positively to the level of income in the country. And this comes from the liquidity preference theory, when money demand depends positively on the level of income. And this curve shows the combinations of R and Y that equates demand for real money with money supply. Then we have combined these two curve. IS कर्व हमने पिछले लेक्चर में पढ़ा था, LM कर्व हमने इस क्लास में सीखा. दोनों को कंबाइन करेंगे तो दिस combination in one model give us a unique value of R and Y, unique combination of R and Y, which tells us equilibrium in both of the market, that combination satisfies the equilibrium both in goods market and money market. उसके बाद हमने ये देखा कि whenever there is a change in either fiscal policy or monetary policy, this will bring a change in the equilibrium rate of interest and the equilibrium level of income in the country and the economy. तो दोनों को हमने separately analysis किया, और फिर उसके बाद lastly हमने क्या किया, we have brought those two policies together, where we have discussed the interaction between monetary and fiscal policy, how a monetary policy maker responds to change in fiscal policy and vice versa, or how fiscal policy maker respond to change in monetary policy makers, right? So हमने ये देखा कि जब किसी एक पॉलिसी में तब्दीली आती है और उसके रिस्पॉन्स में दूसरी पॉलिसी में तब्दीली आती है, तो इट हैज़ मल्टीपल डिफरेंट ऑप्शंस, डिफरेंट रिस्पॉन्सेज हो सकते हैं, और हर एक रिस्पॉन्स पे जो रिजल्ट है, जो इफेक्ट है रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट पे और इनकम पे, वो डिफरेंट हो सकता है. तो डियर स्टूडेंट्स, दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट टुडेज क्लास. आई शुड स्टॉप माय लेक्चर टुडे. आई होप you have understood all this what we have learned today. I will continue with the same IS and LM framework in the next class. Till next class, God bless you. Allah Hafiz. See you next time.